Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a topic that's literally the backbone of the pharmaceutical and manufacturing industries. Think about it for a second. In most jobs, a simple error, it's just a typo, you hit backspace, you move on, no big deal. But in pharma manufacturing, a single error is not a typo. It's a direct patient safety risk. And that is exactly where GMP, good manufacturing practice, steps in. It's basically the ultimate operating system safeguard. So we're going to transform these source materials into a focused, highly visual explainer to give you the exact, direct understanding you need. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, foundations of GMP. Second, the global regulatory context. Third, the 5 pillars. Fourth, quality systems and assurance. And finally, number 5, the training lifecycle. This is a clear path to demystify how these controls actually apply to everyday operations. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Foundations of GMP, Setting the Standard. So what does this all mean? Well, GMP certification confirms that your manufacturing controls, your facilities, documentation, your people, and your quality systems all perfectly align with recognized expectations. Now, you might be wondering if this is just a one-and-done deal. That's actually a super common misconception. People think certification is a single, universal badge you earn once and just hang up on the wall in the lobby. No way. It's not. It's a continuous, living, breathing state of documented control, and it depends entirely on your specific product type, your jurisdiction, and the scope of your audits. Now, you'll often hear GMP and CGMP used totally interchangeably, but there's a vital distinction here you really need to grasp. GMP refers to the general practices, sure, but that little C in CGMP, that stands for current. And that is a legally binding commitment. It means you're keeping your controls, your documentation, and your risk thinking entirely current with modern technology and modern expectations. Basically, you can't rely on 20-year-old legacy systems to pass today's rigorous inspections. You have to stay current. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between required daily behaviors and dangerous pitfalls. It's black and white. On the do side, you absolutely must use approved standard operating procedures, record everything in real time, and escalate any issues immediately. On the avoid side, strictly no guessing limits, no backdating records, and absolutely under no circumstances, no silent fixes. A silent fix, where you try to, sweep a mistake under the rug and correct it without documenting it, that is a massive red flag in literally any audit. Moving right along to Section 2, Global Regulatory Context. Who enforces the rules? So, enforcement isn't just some single global police force knocking on your door. National regulatory agencies, they inspect and enforce the rules within their own specific jurisdictions. But here's the kicker. Your own customers might also perform strict qualification audits before they ever approve you as a supplier. So your readiness, it has to satisfy both the government and your business partners. You're answering to multiple bosses here. To break that down a bit further across global frameworks, you've got the FDA setting the minimum CGMP requirements specifically for human pharmaceutical products over in the US. Then the World Health Organization, or WHO, they support international guidance, which is often heavily relied upon in developing markets. And then you have ISO frameworks. Take ISO 22716, for example, which gives specific GMP guidance for categories like cosmetics. Ultimately, the standard you train to depends entirely on what you're making and where you're selling it. All right, Section 3, the 5 pillars, the heart of compliance. GMP is really commonly taught using these 5 Ps: people, processes, procedures, premises, and equipment, and products and materials. Summarizing these pillars is honestly the best way to remind everyone that compliance is not just a giant stack of dusty documents sitting on a manager's desk somewhere. It's a fully integrated, tightly controlled operating system where every single piece relies entirely on the others. It's like a giant puzzle. Let's zoom in on those first 2 for a second. And this brilliantly illustrates the human element of manufacturing. Under Pillar 1, people, your staff must be specifically trained, qualified, and fully aware of exactly how their actions impact patient safety. For Pillar 2, processes, those highly trained people have to carefully execute controlled sequences of operations. Basically, you absolutely cannot have consistent product quality without highly competent people running tightly controlled processes. They go hand in hand. Then, the final 3 pillars translate those requirements directly into your physical workspace. Procedures? That means your SOPs actually have to be practiced and understood, not just read once and tossed in a drawer. Premises dictate that your facilities and your equipment have to be cleanly maintained, calibrated, and officially qualified for use. And finally, products, meaning materials must be strictly protected from contamination, from mix-ups, and from unapproved use at all times. Next up, Section 4, Quality Systems and Assurance, the framework. Now, you might ask, is GMP the exact same thing as your quality management system or QMS? Actually, no. GMP handles the very specific manufacturing compliance right there on the shop floor. Your QMS, though, is the broader umbrella. It covers the overall management of quality across the entire company, stuff like handling deviations, executing CAPA, corrective and preventive actions, and managing overall change control. So think of GMP as the way you implement your QMS on the production line. Within that overarching system, you've got 2 absolutely vital roles: quality assurance and quality control. It's helpful to think of QA as the software developer building the system, right? They design the processes to prevent defects from happening in the first place and make sure records are controlled. QC, on the flip side, is like your beta tester. They are the ones actively testing the physical products and materials to guarantee they actually meet the strict specifications that QA helped establish. Both are completely essential, but they serve entirely different functions. And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, the training life cycle, execution and reality. So training follows this continuous, never-ending loop. Plan, train, apply, assess, and improve. This proves that real training isn't just handing an employee a 50-page document to skim and having them sign a sheet. No, it's a cyclical system. You have to assess the needs, actually deliver the training, have the employees apply it in the real world, assess their competency, and then constantly improve your curriculum. Honestly, it's the only way to check for true, lasting effectiveness. So, the crucial point here is that this cycle literally never stops. GMP training has to be initial when someone first gets hired, it has to be ongoing, and it must be refreshed at least annually. And for high-risk or super complex activities, or say if there's been a recent deviation, that frequency increases significantly. You always have to justify your training intervals based on actual real-world risk. And let's ground all of this in reality for a second with a tangible financial anchor. Setting this whole thing up is a massive investment. Organizations often estimate initial GMP training and setup in the tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, when you start factoring in learning management system setups, custom course development, trainer fees, and just the sheer volume of employee time away from the production line, it is a huge, significant cost driver that leadership absolutely has to plan for. But why spend all that time and all that money? Well, we return to our repeating theme today: audit readiness. The absolute ultimate goal of all this structured training, the QMS and those 5 pillars, is to create easily defendable evidence. When an inspector walks through your front doors, they want to see a genuine culture of quality, completely backed up by immediate traceable records. Which leaves us with this final, practical challenge drawn directly from the inspection readiness checklist. Ask yourself about your own facility right now, today. Are your requirements totally clear? Is employee competence actually being verified? And if an auditor walked in this very second, could your training records be retrieved right now? If you hesitated on any of those, well, it might be time to reevaluate your GMP operating system. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.